Baby. All right.
Prescription, I can see.
Let's take a look-see and turn down my sound on here so we don't get any random bullshit. Twitch.tv/.
Alright, we are live on Omelet.
Unless you've got a time machine. What the fuck are you on about? Diving into podcasts. I definitely wrote diving into politics. Alright, so we're live on Twitch. If anybody's watching already, give us a little bit of time to make sure we're streaming everything correctly, but Twitch is looking nice.
Checking YouTube now. If you go to this, we can check it on Facebook.
Normally, ladies and gentlemen, we'd be playing music right now, but nobody likes that apparently, so...
Yeah, shout out everybody.
Copyright strikes everywhere.
It's not streaming to Facebook.
Facebook's been a little bit of a bitch,
so we won't use it on Facebook.
I mean, yeah, once we figure that out, it'll be cool because we have a lot of people, but we'll share these links.
Live on YouTube too.
Real quick anyways.
Nice. Alright, we're live on everything. Welcome everyone. We started a little bit post 9:30. I know we had tagged everything 9:30, but we got dog, got coffee, and now we're here. Now we are here.
Yeah, my girlfriend came home with a new dog, and boy is she a cutie. A golden retriever, Great Pyrenees mix, and she's 4 months old and already huge. I think her paws are bigger than my dog, who's a year and a half almost.
Definitely bigger than Layla's paws.
Sweet God. So, as normal, well, I guess this hasn't been so normal over the last month, but we will be hitting our coronavirus news because, realistically, cases and deaths are spiking again. Spiking might not be the best word for the death rate, but it is increasing, so we'll take a look at that. Give us a couple more seconds just to make sure everything's streaming smoothly. As you guys can tell, we're trying to expand our reach in terms of the services we're using through that. Basically, Omelet Arcade, for anybody who doesn't know, my elevator pitch on it is that it's Twitch for mobile devices. And I came to know about it because Alec streams on there. He does his iPad PUBG, and he kicks ass on there. And he has a pretty damn high amount of followers. What are you at now?
13,000.
Yeah, 13,000. And so the cool thing about that versus Twitch, and I think this is an awesome business decision, but Omelet will let you stream from their platform using it to not as many as you'd like, but to other services, and you get to split that stream. And they make you pay for it, which is interesting. Twitch just doesn't let you do it at all. But maybe Twitch, take a hint. I don't know. Because that's pretty cool, and the Twitch interface is nice, so it'd be cool to be able to use that, but...
It would be.
Who fucking cares, because I'm a big Omelet fan as well.
So, everything seems to be working, but for some reason the chat should be pulled up here, so we should be able to see it live, except it's not pulled up. So I guess I have it on my iPad right now, so it's not the biggest deal. I have us over here, so I'll get all the chat messages here. For whatever reason, it's not pulling up onto this. But, if you saw in the title, we're going to start first with something big called COVID. And then later we're going to talk about this dude named Kanye. You might have heard of him. Now he's running for president, apparently. But he didn't sign up to be a president. Apparently you have to do some paperwork for that, and he didn't sign up for that. So,
of course he didn't.
Yeah, I don't really know how that's going to work.
Who left the paperwork to Kanye?
Exactly. So we are going to start on some COVID right now. I'm going to pull that up on Chrome, and we're going to start going down the list. And real quick... I saw a news article which I thought was interesting. Why is California not being talked about? Did you see that article?
No, I didn't. But
I've
been seeing the numbers. So.
They're also dark red, and the only things you've heard about in the news is how terrible Texas and Florida are. California is just as bad, and you hear almost nothing of it.
We all know why. It's kind of similar to...
Where does all the media go?
I mean, New York could get hammered. And, they have been in some aspects where they were talking about, remember, the whole nursing home situation where they didn't pass any mandates that had to do with anything, taking testing or taking people into nursing homes. And then that's the number one demographic that's at risk besides obese people.
Yeah.
And it's probably not besides. It's probably more at risk because they have so many... residual health issues, all this shit. Yeah. Here, let's hop up to.
This is kind of weird though. I don't know if this was like this before. They only have Dallas for the increase. You see that? Dallas is the only one that shows.
So what I noticed is that like Harris County, that's Houston area, like they haven't had a count for deaths like the whole time, and it has to be a data sourcing issue.
Yeah.
And I guarantee that's the same when you go to smaller counties. I was writing a news article on COVID crime and how it was impacting stuff, and they had like 2 or 3 statisticians that just do all of their data and look at that shit, and I was like, hey, that's cool.
Those would
that'd
be a
fun
lot of
job
numbers to
too.
crunch.
Yeah. Let's take a quick look at global just to give people a little picture, but I mean, it's not really. Oh, good lord.
Well, we're number one
Hey,
for not the right
are.
reasons.
We always are.
We're number one.
3.261 million.
Brazil's catching up, though.
136,000 deaths. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's not awful, but it is sad to lose lives. I don't know why that gets lost in the politics, but if you can do something to help people not die from something, why wouldn't we do it?
This is crazy to me with, how Brazil and India, Texas, or not just Texas, but United States, like we have major cities, and then a lot of our areas are rural, right? Mm-hmm. But they're not very populated. If you go to India, their rural areas are insanely populated. It's not like here. So it's like, obviously, cities like Mumbai and New Delhi are just like, I think it's New Delhi, I don't know. But they're just, they're packed. They're packed with people. But so are their rural areas, which makes me wonder, is this really right? I mean, we used to say the same thing about China because, they're not even in the top 10.
I mean, dude, they're so far down there.
It's like, you really think that the country with the most population, like...
Dude, since all this shit popped off, they've barely been reporting.
It's just
anything additional. So
I don't understand how this could be right. Now maybe it's just because I'm American and I assume that there's no way that America could really be number one at this. But at the same time, with how much bigger their population is, you're really going to tell me they haven't reached 1 million cases?
Well, right, exactly. And so part of that, and I always say, I mean, it's a little bit ignorant American, but when people are like always bitching about these political points, they're like, oh, this is how the UK and this is how Australia does it. It's like, guys, the US is a fucking animal.
Yeah.
Things are so different here. And then people talk about melting pot, all the conflicting cultural blah, blah, blah. That only happens here.
Yeah.
And it runs off into a lot of these other countries. And then people are part of, almost everybody in the world is part of the American political dialogue.
Oh, I mean,
it's crazy.
Our news is on their news more than their news, I feel like.
Well, exactly. And then then you have these people bitching at you from Switzerland. It's like, okay, first of all, fuck you. Don't come at me. You don't even live here. Which is fine. You can opine, but like... Do we really think that we're going to apply gun control in the same manner as Australia, the UK, or Canada even? This is America, dude. Like, I mean, and it's not to say this is America, but like...
They never had
different.
as many guns as we had. It was a lot easier to get rid of them. And for the people that say they had guns, well, yes, a lot of countries had guns. China had guns.
Well, it's the New Zealand effect. Didn't they do that too?
Yeah.
And after that mosque shooting, which was awful. I mean, that video was awful. Everything about it was awful. But you think... I don't know, man. There's something about American culture that is just like feisty.
Yeah.
Like, nobody... I mean, I'm sure there's select groups in New Zealand and all these places that were like picketing and rioting, not rioting, but protesting and be like, we don't want to give up our guns, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
America? Good God, we'd burn down before that happened. Literally.
So... My thing
Civil War II.
I mean, like, in World War II, the reason Japan, after bombing Pearl Harbor, didn't keep going and go into Los Angeles and, like, start going at the West Coast was because their leading naval admiral, so it's like their head of command of the Navy, said, there is as many guns in America as there are blades of grass.
Well, dude,
or something like that. It's like that kind of comment because he knew that most Americans had guns. So it's like,
can you imagine
they have an army, but then they have their civilians. It's like, let's go.
Yeah,
like,
dude. No, you have people posting on Facebook now that are like, come and take it.
Exactly.
That's not terrifying. It should be. Like, which is cool. I mean, like, we both feel that way. Like, don't step on our house. Don't come into our house. You know?
So I saw a stat the other day. If you just take the state of Wisconsin for last year, the number of people that got a hunting license would be the 5th largest army in the world.
Yeah, dude.
I mean, just think about that.
Well, so
Like,
check this stat out.
it's
Similar, but not guns. But I learned this when I was doing a little bit of stuff content-wise for that golf nonprofit.
Yeah.
And I read something when I was doing research about nonprofits. The American nonprofit economy is something like the 8th or 9th biggest economy in the world, period.
Oh, yeah.
And I was reading basically
Oh, yeah.
about how the manpower the IRS actually has dedicated to, period, what they do, and then, like, basically applying that to the nonprofit world. They are so understaffed and all this stuff, and you wonder how people get away with all this fraud and financial white-collar crime.
Oh, yeah.
They're understaffed. They're completely understaffed.
Okay, so I at least got that because I see people joining left and right on Omelet, so I want to at least make sure that's working. But
Oh, yeah. Did you burn one of those hot things?
I did.
Nice.
I used one of those free things I got. So we are gonna roll today, people. We are gonna be keeping y'all up to date quickly. So we're gonna be going topic to topic to topic. We both got to get out of here at 11, so we got a little bit of time with you guys. We're gonna make sure this is a good episode with the content that you guys need. I made a post yesterday. I talked about how we're here to do middle ground news updates. So it's like you get tired of seeing things on Twitter and Facebook where everything's one-sided. Your friends, your uncles, your aunts that are all super left or super right. We're going to try to meet in the middle because that's what the news should be. That's what it used to be. And that's what you'd get back to. So that is why we are here.
I didn't have this on the script, but if we have time, we'll hit on it. Shepard Smith for, NBC News. They're starting a new show, and it's supposed to be completely nonpartisan, like middle ground,
Really?
like Walter Cronkite style. Which,
That should be good.
Which damn you,
Yeah.
Shepard Smith, because that was our idea. But whatever. I mean, that's good to see. I was talking with my buddy Levi about that, and he in his little introduction video, or like I guess teaser video for that show. I think it's starting September, maybe next month even.
Is that the guy who used to be on Fox?
He seemed
Okay.
really in good faith, and
Okay.
he basically broke away from Fox because he was like, I don't like how this is going, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
From what I understand, and I respect him for that honestly, because he was top of the world.
Oh, yeah.
At Fox,
Yeah.
I mean, we're not talking Tucker top of the world, but
He was like their
he was
number 2 show, right?
Yeah, something like that. I mean, a name that I'm not all too familiar with his successes and like career resume, blah blah blah. But like you hear that name and you know it.
Yeah.
Most people in our arena.
I always got his name confused with the guy that founded Vice. Something Smith also.
I don't know who that is, but I think Vice is cool for some of the shit they do. It's always like a little weird when you get the BuzzFeed and Vice like political stuff.
Yeah.
But BuzzFeed and Vice for that matter have broken a few stories where you're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
This actually brings up a really good point, and get your take on it. But I was telling my buddy, that same buddy Levi, I was saying, like, we have to put in the work at this point to vet people on an individual basis in terms of writers. And I'm really sick of people saying like, oh, really, a CNN article, bro? Or really, a Fox News article? It's like, okay, first of all, shut the fuck up. Because everything's going to shit and has been for years. And so you have to, at some point, address journalists at the individual level and say, like, what is their body of work? How good are they? Because, even if you're the best person in the world, it's like, I think I made this point before. My dad said, you have to play the game to get in. And I have all this frustration with how things work, but if you're just fucking ranting from like, the rooftops, people aren't going to let you get on Fox News, and you're never going to be able to even spread that message. So it's like a little give and take.
Yeah.
Granted, that's why we want to do things as independently as we can, but when we think about things like, I'd love to get us to radio, or I'd love to get us to something like Sirius XM, that
merch.
Imagine.
Some merch for it.
I'm obsessed with in the last like 3 months, I've become obsessed with the fact that you're not going to get rich if you don't sell something and make some money while you sleep or something like that. Like Apple.
Yeah.
How much money they make a minute and a second is disgusting, but it's automated, and that's the whole name of the game.
Well, it's like we're going to talk about it for the sports thing in a bit, but I'm just talking about that. It's like people were freaking out.
You were right.
About how much money that Patrick Mahomes got, or how much his contract's worth, and then they compared it to Jeff Bezos per hour, where it's 500,000 or like per minute or something, and they're like, oh yeah, he made a lot of money. Sure. Like,
well, okay,
God,
what the hell? That's like,
I wish. Okay, I'll take either of those. Jeff
mountains
Bezos
and molehills.
Like, I'll take Jeff Bezos. I'll take Patrick Mahomes. You want to give me some money? Like, I'll take either of those because God,
Pat, I'll shine your
400 million.
shoes for like 100K a year.
Dude, I will literally go to his house and I like shout out Sarah if you're watching, my girlfriend, but fuck Texas Tech. I will literally go and wax whatever Texas Tech flooring you have in your house. Like, I don't care. I hate Texas Tech that much, but if it gets me some money like that, dude, I would be out there every day. Just let's go. 400 mil. That's what I'm working towards. Fuck this Texas Tech logo. I'm gonna act like I like it. But...
Yeah, Pat. If you need a lawn guy and you're willing to pay decent, I'll do it. I mow a goddamn great lawn.
I can attest. When I pulled in, I was like, "That's a damn good lawn."
You don't have to lie. I was on vacation last week, and so we came back, and the yard is looking shitty. But I'm getting out there after this, unfortunately.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be a hot day.
Really
today.
Puts a damper on the day.
It's gonna be 100 degrees.
I've told myself the last 6 times, and I think I've mowed the lawn 7 times now.
Yeah.
This was the last time I'm doing it. My buddy gave me a contact that apparently does like lot sizes like this for $25. I was like, good God, that is so worth it. My time really still, people always talk about what their time is worth. For most people, the fact of the matter is it's not worth shit when you're out of work, when you're outside of your day job.
Yeah.
And so I'm still not $25 an hour outside of my day job, but I'll still pay that.
Oh,
because ideally they'd give me some edging too. Because I don't have that equipment. All I have is a lawnmower, and I'm not trying to spend my money on lawn tools right now. I'm trying to spend it on business things.
Yeah.
So
I'm not gonna lie though, living in Texas, for those of you that do, I mean, there's other states that are hot, but Texas is pretty fucking hot. Mowing your lawn in between the hours of 10 a.m. and let's say 6.
I was gonna say 6 p.m.
It's hell. It's absolute hell. You either do it from 8 to 10, so you either wake up your neighbors with or like after dinner everybody's trying to enjoy family time, you're out there It doesn't matter. But if you do it in between the early day when it's 100 degrees, you're out there like, all right, I'm about to be dead in 5 minutes. It's casual.
I think it wouldn't be so bad if I didn't have such bad allergies, because then I wouldn't have to wear a mask, and I'm just like, and it's even hotter. You guys keep bitching about walking into restaurants and stuff with masks on. Jeez, why don't you go mow your lawn with one?
This is where I would usually, for my stream, play tidbits of sound bites, and I'd probably play Future Mask Off. But I can't do that because YouTube would copyright the living out of this video. So thank you, YouTube. And now Twitch is doing it too. So Omelet, you are truly the king of that and letting us play music. I wish I could do that right now, but we are multicasting. Let's get back to the education I pulled up. I didn't realize I pulled it up on the screen. So we are going to go back to this, pull up our education we're going to talk about. Because like Matt was just saying, wearing masks just for even mowing the lawn. Now we're talking about what are we going to do if we go back to school. I don't really know if we're going to go back to school. Texas is talking about re-shutting down the entire state. And I'm pretty sure Sarah leaves for tech in like 3 weeks. We're supposed to leave in like 2.5 weeks to go back to tech, and that's where my sister's gonna go to school too, so they might both stay here. I don't even know. So
what this was born of was basically, I was about to send off a rant on Facebook this morning about how I saw some talk about just this, everything's a fucking debate these days, and so I was talking about sending your kids back to school and whether that's safe or not. I mean, granted, once we're getting back to life in terms of economy and business, blah blah blah, it's probably okay for kids to go back, but the big point of it was people were bitching that the Texas Education Agency staff and employees wouldn't be returning to like 2021 or something, and they were just bitching and using that as their anchor point for debate. And so I wrote something. I said, that is a little weird, isn't it, that we're such a prominent discussion for whether it's worth it or not to send kids back to school when the TEA is not even going to be in office. But this came up. I signed up for a little subscription. They give you this 99 cents for a month of testing their digital, and then I think it's $10.99 a month after that. But they had a fact check, and this is basically the perfect article I was looking for. And they basically debunk it and say, TEA employees have been in and out of office ever since March when they first got the stay-at-home, declaration, blah, blah, blah. And so essentially, so what is selfish? This chick, okay. So during a July 8th press conference, Education Austin President Ken Zarifis criticized the agency's decision. What is selfish is a commissioner that requires teachers and workers return to... What? That's weird. I hate when people actually have typos on like prominent websites. To unsafe environments, he said. That is the person that is selfish. All the while he has closed his offices at TEA through January. The hypocrisy of this is palpable.
Love that word.
So, I love that word too.
Palpable is not used enough.
So this isn't exactly true. Basically, and I'll try and skim this so that we're not moving too slow, but the big points I saw was, they mandated and mandatory telework. I don't even hear people call it that. Work from home policy on March 17th. But basically, there's been at least 30 other employees working there since March. And same as it is for students going back to school this fall, it's an option for people to work remotely or come in. From what I understand, in these high schools and stuff like that and below, they have that option too. And I suppose that begs the question, and that was probably the only point that was left on my post that was good, because everything else was just kind of, I was ranting to something that wasn't exactly true. But it begs the question, are people unhappy with the quality of remote learning at the end of last semester? And I think that's an interesting conversation because, everybody knows if you're not in a work atmosphere where you kind of have that structure set for yourself, I could see how it's difficult for teachers and students, especially when teachers are mothers and fathers, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I was going to lean on the parents' side of things. So if you think towards what Texas had done now, so Texas is mostly a reopened state. They've gone back into closing some things. Obviously, I just talked about how there's talks that they're going to reclose the entire state. Where before, for school, like both of my parents with my siblings were... my dad was working more from home. My mom was working more from home. It wasn't an issue for them. And also because my siblings are in high school, it's not a problem. But for these kids that are like in elementary school, if both their parents work and now, if Texas doesn't close,
that's a really good point.
But they keep the schools closed, who's going to take care of the kids? Not everybody can afford a babysitter. Some people need those hours in the day to send their kids to school so they can provide for food on the table. So now it becomes an even bigger question, like if schools close again, is it almost worth keeping the state closed just for another fall semester? Obviously, Republicans are going to say that would crash the Texas economy. It wouldn't crash the economy. Obviously, it would go down a lot.
Well, check this out.
But
North Texas is projected to miss out on $400 million in revenue with the cancellation of the state fair.
I believe that.
That's just North Texas.
I told Sarah she had never been to the Red River game, and I told her this year we're going to the Red River game.
That's fucking crazy, isn't it?
It is crazy.
That is a lot of money, but also,
You've been, right? It's insane.
I've gone for the last 3 years, and it's just a blast.
Red River game and the state fair is awesome. I went last year. We sat on the 50-yard line, probably I think it was 8 rows up.
I just go and get hammered and leave.
No, you got it. At the state fair, there's 2 things you do at the state fair. And once you're of age to drink.
Drink and eat.
1, you get hammered. And 2, you eat every fried thing on the menu that's new.
Oh, yeah.
So, these are just random items you'll hear for those not from Texas. Fried Oreos, fried ice cream, fried butter, fried...
Dr. Pepper.
Fried Dr. Pepper. all these things have been here, but every year they have something new. So it's always, you get drunk, and then you try the new fried things on the menu. You're walking around like, that's new, gotta get one of those. That's new, gotta get one of those. And then, all the other bullshit, you can leave. You're just there to drink and eat. Unless you're going for the football game, of course. Which, in that case, even though I went to OSU, I do say Boomer Sooner because we all hate Texas. Or at least UT. We all hate UT.
Well, so that's my girlfriend's entire family is a bunch of Boomer Sooners. But my whole family, my parents, and even their brothers, sisters went to UTs. Yeah. So I'm always just chilling. I'm having a blast. I don't really care.
Go Pokes.
As most people, yeah, exactly. And for what it's worth, ever since I stopped playing football up there, probably haven't been the best fan anyways.
At OSU?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, here's my thing with OSU. And I think because I was an OSU fan once I started going there. I was a diehard Gator fan before that. Go Florida Gators. But the issue with that was they never were bad. They might have a down year, but when I was a fan from when I was a kid all the way until college they won 2 natties in football, 2 natties in basketball, just like your Patriots fan. So it's they were good at sports. They won baseball. They were good at everything. And then I got to OSU, and we were also good at everything, but we could never finish. Like,
So
we
this
could
is like
never get over the
This
hump.
is my little joke line about OSU. I'm like, they're only ever good enough to break your heart, which isn't a bad thing. You know, we're always pushing at the end of the season, and we lose like those 2-3 games, and you're just like, damn it. And Gundy's an amazing coach, you know.
He's the most
all
winningest
controversy
coach.
aside,
Yes.
everybody wants to, you know. I mean, you know, for what it's worth, he probably. Did we really talk about the One American News thing? I don't think we hit on it fully. What do you think about that? Is it? It's his right, but do you think he should be more intelligent than that on a personal fishing trip with his son and his friend and like another friend?
Here's my thing with it. As a player, I understand during the times right now that we're living in, because I agree with Black Lives Matter, but at the same time, OAN is giving their perception on the news no different than Fox.
Everybody has a bias.
Everybody has a bias, so Fox and OAN are basically saying the same thing. So if Gundy wore a Fox News shirt, would it have been just as bad? And, you know, like...
Couldn't be, right?
I don't think it could have been.
But the thing about it is I think that would only be perception because it's a bigger brand. And in terms of what they actually hit on, One American News and Fox aren't that different at all.
No, that's what I'm saying.
And I don't want to get crucified for this, but One American News is like... You know how at some point conservative outlets right now are, when they're willing to report on the truth on some things, it's like fringe almost. It's like kind of like revolutionary and not to the point where One American News is just spewing bullshit from contributors about like what Black Lives Matter is and isn't. You know, like I think most logical people can see the issues within BLM, but it's like BLM the group and BLM the philosophy. And philosophy's good, but when you apply any philosophy to humans, like, you know, some of it goes to shit. I always say that about religion. Religion and the concept of God and all this, it's great, and I think, you know, it's probably empowering to a lot of people. But then you apply it to the masses, and of course humans are going to fuck it up.
Well, I mean...
That's a whole nother conversation, and we could probably have a great episode on that. But,
joking about religion, I fly free, and you know that, but they don't know that, so I fly free, and I've been to quite a few churches around the country. It's amazing when you go to major cities like New York, how they ask you a couple more times, especially, I'm not going to say which church this was in downtown Manhattan, but near Wall Street, there's a Catholic church out there, obviously very wealthy, prominent area near Wall Street. How they ask you a couple more times if you want to give donations throughout the Mass.
Whoa, this is way too good of a segue for me to miss this.
Good Lord, man.
What do you think? I think the number is 1.9 billion that the Catholic Church got in coronavirus relief aid. How do you feel about that when churches don't pay taxes? I think it kind of pisses me off. Well, because so what is that tied to? People are tithing less?
I don't really...
In a financially hard time?
I don't understand how they could even apply for that.
It's frustrating to me. And then you
what are
say,
they paying for? They're like, if it's a new building, so they got to pay the builder. Because
if you guys know about this, enlighten us, and I'm sure I could go find more. Because, you know, it's not just a narc on churches. It's that there are certain business entities or entities at all that I think shouldn't be able to qualify for things. I'll talk shit on Tom Brady right now. TB12 Academy, I'm pretty sure they took coronavirus relief aid.
They did.
For what?
Yeah.
What the fuck did you need it for? It's
here's no different than these corporations that get it too. It's not just like churches or smaller, not that it's a small company, but Tom Brady, but like a corporation, you know, like there's a phone company that got one like billions of dollars, and it was like,
I think that's illuminating in terms of what people have made the purpose of government to be. You know, they're supposed to be there for us to help us in trying times economically and all this. And so, you know, those places all do it, and it helps them on payroll and all this shit. And it helps them, alleviate a little bit of their sales bottom line, whatever that is. But I still think it's frustrating because there's tons of small businesses, and, you know, a lot of people fuck up and they don't apply correctly or they don't apply in time. But there are a lot of small businesses that still haven't been relieved in that way.
Yes, comrade.
The places that they don't, you know, they're not like... Their primary concern isn't conserving money to, like, appease their shareholders. It's literally, like, how the fuck are we going to pay this? Yeah. Or else we're going to close.
Well, I mean,
I think that's garbage.
There's some companies, like, my mom made a good point. Like, in my future next job, she told me that I need to apply to be something in the food industry. And I was like, why? She goes, because if we ever have another pandemic, they will always have a job. If there's a war, the people in the food industry will always have a job.
Yeah.
If there's global crisis, people still got to eat.
Well,
You'll
so
always
last
have a
episode
job.
we talked a little bit about, or maybe it was just us talking about it, but it was that thing you sent, and then you were talking about showing your brother just about Chinese ownership in companies in the United States and how like our biggest pork manufacturer, producer got bought out and is like wholly owned by China. How the same thing applies to a decent amount of other food.
98% of our pharmaceuticals come from China. 98%.
I mean, fucking A, dude.
They could have literally said during this pandemic, you guys owe us trillions of dollars. We're not going to give you medicine.
They could end you.
I mean, they can't. Conspiracy, not what you want to believe it. It was made in a lab. That's my point of view. It was made in a Chinese lab because it came from Wuhan. And the Wuhan lab over there. Yeah, if China really wanted to say you to the United States, they would just say, you know what? We're not going to give y'all meds. Let y'all die off. Not a problem to us. We've been to be the world superpower for the last 50 years, so you, and then you, all you Americans over there. That's what China would do. Like,
it's funny because like how much of it's drawn out to be that like Trump is in power, right? When they're doing all of these trade deals, blah blah blah, and he's made some great moves. But the fact of the matter is, China still has us by the balls in a lot of things.
Oh no,
I mean in terms of industry, manufacturing, blah blah blah. I know that like my company Fleet Pride, we do like heavy duty aftermarket retail trucking parts, and so much of our wholesale and private label shit.
Hola, amigo. ¿Qué pasa?
Manufactured straight out of China. Sourced straight out of China.
Soviet Union. Welcome, comrade.
We got some hella omelet people, huh?
Welcome to the stream,
Omelet's
comrade.
the shit, man. Thank you guys for tuning in. So, we have had a lot of segues, but they've all been really quality. We basically hit on all these points.
No hablo portugués, mi amigo. And we have una cabana.
Let's see. We don't have too much left to hit on. So before we escape that kind of the back end of that school and coronavirus conversation, how all that's impacting everything. One thing is that the whole narrative has been that the death rate is falling, and I was saying that, like 2 years ago. But then, 2 weeks ago. Then all the Memorial Day stuff started happening, and cases started spiking again.
Yeah.
And at some point, people have to not be so divisive and just accept the fact that as numbers skyrocket, you're going to have a higher death rate. That's how numbers work, it seems to me. And that's nothing to say that I completely agree with the point that our media has just taken this for a ride, and everybody was terrified for a long time because we didn't amass enough data to see that the death rate was fairly minuscule. But, it's still sad that the death rate is increasing. But in the grand scheme of things, this was nowhere close to as bad as it was like made out to be in the beginning, and that's a good thing. People act like it's a bad thing. And then, like coming for full circle, the media, politicians, blah, 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 are just hammering these conservative states and all these people. And you do have the Californias and the New Yorks that are number 1 and 2.
Yeah.
So, it's interesting. With that, we're basically done with coronavirus stuff. So I'll get better at posting these scripts. I'll also get better at formatting and make them look. I think I'll start doing that once I get like a nice like header, some shit like that. And we'll post those so you guys can just funnel through this stuff on your own. So we're gonna move on to our biggest recent nationwide story or two segment. And off the bat, I think we're gonna hit on the Wayfair conspiracy. If anybody was paying attention to Twitter yesterday or anywhere else,
blown up.
Fucking insane.
Blown up.
And it's a bit crazy.
It's one of those conspiracy theories that you like read it at first and you're like, there's no way. And then it gets posted enough and you're like, okay, this is weird. And then it's in the back of your head like, well, why else would a cabinet be so much money?
Right.
Like,
it's the same cabinet.
It's the same cabinet. So then it's like, it gets kind of creepy, gets kind of weird, and we're going to talk about it in these price ranges. So basically, if you want to highlight that right there. So you see a normal cabinet, same cabinet for what? I think it was like $600.
Here, read this real quick and just go through there. Just so for anybody who doesn't know what was going on, the conspiracy is that Here, I got it. A conspiracy theory emerged Friday, and, everybody likes to label everything conspiracy, even if you consider it, whatever. Emerged Friday that the Wayfair online store was using the sale of storage cabinets as a cover for child trafficking, which the home decor company immediately denounced as false. Of course they fucking would. That's PR. I'd like to point out something wrong with that. It's not just storage cabinets. It was tons of different kind of home decor, pillows, blah, blah, blah. So I checked pretty quickly yesterday on the website, and as much as I could, and they had delisted those storage cabinets or changed the prices almost immediately. But people kept finding some other little things, and some of those were pillows, just random decor, and we'll carry on before. Oh, that's perfect. A post on the social media website, Reddit, noted the high cost of the furniture. I have those links on my Facebook and Twitter. They're on archive. Whatever the fuck it's called. Because fact of the matter is the 4chan and the Reddit threads were deleted, of course. So
4chan's an insane website.
It is insane. I mean, and for what it's worth, that thread, anybody who's been on 4chan, people say awful things, and it's just raging racism, but also, like, that's where you go. It's like the underworld Twitter.
Yeah. That's all it is.
And so, along with the fact that each item was identified by a female name as potential evidence of the purported scandal reported by Newsweek, basically the prices for these cabinets, called Alvia, Neria, Samaya, and Yaritza, which ranged from $12,699 to $14,499, which is fucking absurd considering how they look, like just what it looks like, their quality. I won't read too much of this, but for your Googling, look up that with this in the title and child trafficking, human trafficking. But to summarize, the creepy thing about the names that were attached to these wardrobes, which normally aren't when they sell them because it has nothing to do with the model name, perfectly match up with missing kids. On the most verifiable websites you can find for missing children, sex trafficking, missing persons, I think it was like almost every single one lined up with a child. I don't know if they have that here. It looks like they didn't go very far into this.
Yeah, I thought this was a longer article.
But I bet Newsweek kicked some ass on it, and we won't waste too much time on it because we only have a couple more minutes. But if you want this link, it's easy enough to find, but hit me up and I can send them to you as well. It's just a little creepy because the best articles had pictures of the kids that were missing. Yeah. Okay. We're not even gonna have time to talk about Jelaine getting arrested and all that.
Next week.
We can talk about that too because both of her sisters were in like CIA, and there's a lot of interesting stuff to talk about there.
Funny how she always had the insider scoop with what was happening.
Well, right. It's a little creepy. All right, so let's jump back. We only have a couple more things. So we hit on that a little bit. We can't ignore the fact that Kanye West disavowed Trump, and he is... What was it? He claimed he was running for fucking president.
Yeah, didn't file for presidency paperwork. Always do your paperwork.
Well, I didn't really take Kanye for the kind of kid to do his homework anyways.
No. Yeah, so for those...
This is a fun little poll, though.
For those that don't follow me on Twitter, I've been doing polls for the presidential election. Give me a follow right here at Alec_Griff. We are running this poll right now. It has 1 day left. Kanye West running for president, so obviously need a new poll. If the election happened today, who would you vote for? This is now the second poll in a row that I've done. Actually, second one in a couple weeks. The other ones I've done before this, President Trump won again. This is now back-to-back weeks where Trump has almost a 20% lead on President Biden. Joe Jorgensen actually received more votes than I was expecting. So it's kind of interesting to see. I know our friend Devin is voting for Joe Jorgensen, if that's how you say her name. I hope it is. And so is Kayla. Both of them are voting for her.
So Joe Jorgensen's interesting if you guys don't know much about her platform. There was a little thing that went viral, I think it was last week, maybe the week before, where people were kind of looking at what... I think a lot of people were reading her platform views, and that was the first time they'd really ventured into what true libertarianism is. And I think there are some aspects that are scarier, if not scary, shocking, because it just shows how reliant we are on government services and entities. Welfare all the way to tons of shit. She's a true libertarian. She's a true believer in downsizing the government we have now, which I don't think she's wrong, but I think there's maybe some middle ground between where she stands and where the true libertarian platform stands. And what's right.
The candidates for the middle ground Libertarian Party are always terrible.
Well, I mean,
Terrible.
I just don't think they're that intelligent. I think people are really hung up and clinging to their views and blah, blah, blah. And I always have this talking point. Conservatives have conserved nothing. Like, congratulations. You've done fucking nothing. You've done a horrible job. The left goes ham for what they believe in, which is fine. Good for them. But they win every time they win. Yeah. And you know, it's not just single day wins. It's over 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. The last 20 years has been nuts. But applying that to third party, how about we have a third party member with some balls and also some intelligence? Like, you know, do we really think Jo Jorgensen's going to stand a chance when she comes in so radically libertarian? Fuck no. Nobody has even considered what that. Not many people. I won't say nobody because there's tons of people voting for her that are open-minded and that want a better tomorrow in American government. But there's a lot of libertarianism that's just not going to stick, dude. Yeah. We have to maybe take a halfway point and be like, hey, let's not strip every fucking government program that does whatever. And I think that's enough said on that.
I have Lillian, thank you for watching, is watching all the way from Brazil right now.
Fuck yeah, dude.
So we had somebody come in earlier, Soviet Union. Thank you, comrade. And now we have somebody from Brazil. So last week we had Argentina. This week we have Brazil. I don't speak Portuguese. I do speak Spanish. So lo siento, mi amigo. But
yeah, we both speak a little Spanish. I need to get back on like Duolingo. I went through
Duolingo.
I went through AP5 at Fire Mountain, but I finished that by the time I was like a sophomore. So I've had all that time to forget it, and then I blew it and didn't use it at OSU. So let's cover this. This is our last. This is our last point of the day, and we got to get out of here, folks. But this will be a fun one. So. Yeah, tee off on that FC Dallas news. I saw a little bit about that.
So, shout out one of my good friends, Reggie Cannon, plays for FC Dallas.
Reggie, we're going to shout you out every time.
Every single time.
Every time we talk about FC Dallas.
Every single time. Shout out for getting us tickets to the game.
Yeah, that was amazing.
That was an amazing game. And so, FC Dallas, for those that don't know, was sent home by the MLS. It wasn't their choice to leave. It was MLS's choice to leave. And over the last few days, some more news has come out and more reports. And some of the FC Dallas players have been tweeting about it.
Yeah.
And it seems like FC Dallas had 2 players test positive for corona before they left. Yeah. Took those players with them to Orlando. And then kept them all together like nothing was going to happen. Other players got sick.
Fucking dumb.
And then Reggie tweeted last night, and it wasn't just Reggie, it was a couple of their players, so I'm not just going to throw Reggie under the bus here. Sorry, buddy. But a couple of other players also tweeted this, and it was like, damn, I guess we all shouldn't have ate from the same Cheez-It box on the plane there. So I guess, like, on the plane ride there, all the FC Dallas players, like, passed around a box of Cheez-Its, and now all of them got sick. So, it happens.
We only want to hit on this for a second. For time's sake, but Joey Gallo, he had that whole deal where he tested positive once and tested negative like twice within 72 hours each time. And I think he tested like partially positive again, like a week positive. I think it was 3, not 4, but whatever the fuck it was. Yeah. It brings back to light either how weird this virus is in terms of testing, or that we have massive inaccuracy within our testing, which I would bank on.
I would also talk about how it's it's bad how we are showing that these sports teams can have an unlimited amount of tests, where for the general public, if like a major player needs a test, right, they get like that, right? And some of these places, even Dallas, they ran out of tests, so they had to shut it down.
Well, so we hit on that early in that episode where we were like kind of fucking around with Rudy Gobert, because the whole
thanks Rudy for ruining the NBA.
The whole counter narrative, the counter narrative left. I would say like a lot of that comes from the left side of the spectrum. We're bitching about like, isn't it funny how the Utah Jazz have more tests than all of America right now? Mm-hmm. And it's like, yeah, I mean,
they had more tests done in a week than most states.
And our point, I think, there was, at least part of mine was, well, it's funny how people don't understand sports medicine and the power they have at all. Because, we're talking about the pinnacle of health and physiology, blah, blah, blah. Like, are you guys surprised that athletes are getting treated better?
Well,
it's fucked up, sure, but like supply chain works.
We live in America where the top 1% can get anything they need.
Supply chain and stuff like that works to the highest bidder's advantage.
Yeah.
And they have so many partnerships in place for all these health deals. They're
Are you saying that good old Jerry Jones can just snap his fingers and anything happens? Is that what you're trying to imply?
Exactly, right. Exactly. All right, so, I didn't bring this up, but the last point we are going to talk about is we're going to talk about that landmark Patrick Mahomes deal.
Boom!
I was on vacation in Maine.
Or NBA. Bang!
My girlfriend's brothers and I got that notification, and we looked at each other and we were like, holy shit.
Dude, I yelled across the house. I was like, my little brother's name's Corbin. I was like, Corbin, did you see that contract? And he goes, did Dak sign a deal? No!
Of course he fucking didn't, right?
No!
And so, our little second point on the script is that immediately people were starting to talk about, oh shit, now Dak's camp's going to be looking for more money. And so,
Dak's camp wants $399.
What I first heard was from my buddy Derek, and he was sending some shit on that deal when news hadn't quite broke of what it exactly was, and he said, dude, they're saying something like 10-year deal for something. I literally go, it's got to be like $400 million.
That's what I said.
That's 40 a year.
Yeah.
10-year deal, and I was like, okay, that's pushing the cap a bit, and then it ended up being more.
Yeah.
It was 450, right?
Yeah, I think it was closer to 450.
Closer to 450.
I'm not sure how much of that is incentives. So
Right.
it's okay. So the other thing, everybody needs to remember too. I'm not sure if Matt was going to allude to this. I might have spoken too soon, but NFL is a lot of you got to do incentives, and then it's not guaranteed money.
Right.
It's not like Major League Baseball and the NBA where if you sign for like LeBron James, 265, 300 million, you're getting that money.
So
you're getting all of that.
What is it about football where they wanted to incentivize performance so much? Because I know for a fact, Bill Belichick, he'll give these people deals, and he's already stringent, frugal as hell. And then when they come back and they're evaluating earned money and stuff on top of your base, he's a dick. He's very realistic in how people perform, and that's how he preserves a lot of money because he's the de facto GM as well.
Well, it's so here's a good thing about what Bill Belichick does. Bill Belichick, as you know this, he doesn't care about players, right? So he'll literally just ring around the rosy, just bring in new players.
All of the outside linebackers we've lost in DNs over the years, I'm like, go. The few times I love defensive players, right? I was just offensive minded. I just pay more attention.
Who's y'all's safety that y'all had? Did y'all just get rid of y'all's good safety?
I mean, we've gotten rid of just as many defensive backs too that were gods,
That's what he does, though.
I don't know why I'm making it because I know exactly who you're talking about, and I see his face. But yeah, I mean, we breed this these disgusting DBs, and we just pimp them off, to get a deal, which we need to do. We definitely, especially. Oh man, I'm worried. I don't know. Hey, though, I am the biggest. Oh my God, I didn't even have this on the script. I hated Cam Newton before. It wasn't a racial thing. It was just that fucking kind of weird dude. That season where they went to the Super Bowl pissed me off because they kicked our ass in a game. And now, though, I'm excited as hell. And I think it's an interesting dynamic, and I wonder how the Patriots are going to evolve around that. I wonder what happens to... Bill's too smart to try and stick to one offensive program, right? Especially when you have a hoss like Cam Newton coming in. And... I don't know. It's interesting because we still are weak at other positions, and we just got a discount deal on a stud.
Pump the brakes.
I'm excited.
If you guys missed out last week, Matt just basically guaranteed me $50 because he told me that the Patriots.
I got fucked.
Yeah,
I got fucked.
Matt guaranteed I'm gonna get $50 because he bet that the Cowboys won't make the playoffs, but the Patriots will. And let's be honest, the Patriots aren't making the playoffs this year. What's up, Toto? What's up, Allie?
Yeah, I don't know.
I've been trying to respond to everybody in the chat while we've been talking.
Dude, that's the first bet I've ever made preseason. That'll be fun to follow. I hope we don't just fall apart.
But
hell yeah.
Yeah, so look at this though.
Nice.
I can't respond to that.
So real quick, it was actually Contract extension through 2031 that was worth $503 million. Good God, man. And we don't have the time today to break that down. We'll break that down next week, in terms of what the guaranteed money and all that shit is. But this shit always happens, and I think I probably made it this point on the show. Like the Mike Conley effect when he signed the biggest landmark deal in the NBA, and it was like for the Memphis Grizzlies, and he was a guard. It's just how it goes. That's just the times. And so I would love to hear some of y'all's opinions on how this is going to impact the Cowboys and Dak. That has just been a looming conversation for how long now? It's been damn near a year. It's been over that in terms of whispers, but in terms of shit really hitting the fan and the Cowboys not being able to come to terms with Dak, it's a crazy time to be a Cowboys fan. It's kind of annoying for y'all. What was our last point before we adjourn? Because we gotta go. Yeah, I think that's it. We have anything else we want to finish on?
Yeah, so I'm just going to talk about it real quick because I'm getting a lot of things in the chat. I'm trying to type as fast as I can so I don't interrupt Matt. So, Allie, so I'm reading your comments. So, we are supporting Black Lives Matter right now during these times because all lives do not matter until Black Lives Matter. And that is not just for police brutality. That is also for what's going on in Chicago. The massive murder rate in Chicago. That's also going for the educational racism that happens when Black Americans try to apply at higher education institutions like Harvard. They're very low likely to get into these institutions. It also goes towards financial racism, where Black people apply to banks and they say no, and then they go to banks that allow worse credit scores, even though their credit score might be high, and they go to that bank and they allow it, or the bank allows it because they charge insane interest rates, and that's something that's not talked about in America enough. This isn't just about what's going on with police brutality. If you really support the Black Lives Matter movement like I do, it's not just about police brutality. There's a lot of stuff that the movement stands for. There's a lot of stuff that the news is not covering. And, you don't deal every day with the police, whether you're white, whether you're Black, whether you're Hispanic. But what you do deal with is your credit score, because you can only buy certain things whether your credit score is affected. You can't get a good education if you're an African American, unless your scores are ungodly high to where they match 4.5s on a GPA scale. Even if you have just great grades, like a 3.7, you're less likely to get into certain schools because you're Black. It's not just about police brutality. So we're not just saying that Black Lives Matter because of police brutality. There's a very broad picture. If you do the research like I have, then you'll understand where I'm coming from. You'll support what we're talking about, because in the end, there's a big problem and not enough of it gets talked about because the news is only showing one part, and it's a very broad spectrum. So I understand what you're saying when you say that all lives matter. We're not saying that your life doesn't matter because you're white. Obviously, I am white. Matt is white. I am Italian. I don't know what Matt is. He's Guatemalan. So you're not even technically white then.
I'm the real beta, right? But I won't tell anybody until I get to bitch about it on the platform.
So it's
let me tee you off on that for a sec. So, all lives matter. But the point is, and I try to explain it to people. I freelance for self-proclaimed, and who knows? Everybody calls them the best at something themselves. But, they're leading weekly print Black paper in Dallas, right? And I freelance for them from time to time. Saying Black Lives Matter has been co-opted in a negative light by conservatives and also bad liberals, bad acting, these white people you see protesting and destroying stuff.
Antifa.
It's just absurd. And so the point I want to make about that is, when has it ever been efficient for a minority that feels like a minority group that feels marginalized to advocate for the majority? That's not the point. That's not efficient. It's not you have to pick a focus point. A big point we make is that everybody has a bias. Every organization, all the way to media and news organizations, have a bias. Is that right? I don't know. In a perfect world, in a vacuum, we would all be considerate of all views, but that's just not how humanity's made and geared. And so the point, I think, is that, there's a lot of things that aren't probably handled correctly or done as well as they could be within BLM. But the point is that it goes far deeper than police brutality. And, I've had a few conversations in the past couple weeks just about how is racism real, blah, blah, blah. And they looked at it. I talked to a guy who's pretty smart, and he was looking at it in terms of investment. He was talking about the reality is successful African Americans, we need to encourage them to go back to their communities and invest there. I think a lot of people, when you think about the facts of the matter and you think about education systems in lower income areas and how things pan out, there's less return on investment. And I thought that was an interesting point, but I also made the point to him is that's true for a massive amount of reasons. Much of, I hesitate to say institutional racism, but I mean, I don't know what else to call it, because not even 155 years ago, slavery was abolished. And we like to pretend that things are supposed to just, be okay in that time. But imagine if your grandparents or even, to the point of parents facing extreme racism and or slavery, blah, blah, blah. Of course you'd be fucking pissed off. And as a white person, I mean, I think we should address that, because we're gun-toting for the majority, and we would have heads for it. And so you think, let me take that a point deeper. It's been found in Oak Cliff and like South Dallas and certain places like that around the country that you have the teachers that test worse in terms of, the standardized testing for teaching. Those places never go to those teachers never go to the suburbs. They go to South Dallas, and they go to poverty-stricken areas and lower economic areas. And I mean, that's bullshit. That's absolutely bullshit. And it's true. It's proven. And I'll go find the study. I'll go find wherever the fuck it is. Because I'm sure, I mean, you can find anything on Google, but I understand that searching Google isn't that easy. But we have to come to terms with the fact that, yes, I think the reparations conversation is tough, because we're going to take taxpayer money from people who generally weren't complicit with the whole slavery deal, but there's more than enough government money that we could take out of the defense budget and all this shit and somehow reallocate it to invest in lower income areas. And that's the constant conversation around Dallas. All this shit gets like, we're going to do this, we're going to build this, blah, blah, blah. And it's crazy how many times that's said about a southern Dallas area or a lower income area in Dallas, and then it ends up, on the north side. Yep. And so I think a glaring example of that, and it ended up failing, was the new venue for the Byron Nelson. I would love to, I've had that story in my mind for like 2 years, a story about why did they leave Irving? Why did they leave the TPC Four Seasons? Why did they do it so poorly? Why did they do it so poorly where they knew that whatever they were going to put in Southern Dallas, it had to be good. It had to be better than the TPC Four Seasons. You still have to cater to players wanting to come. You have to do all this stuff. And so they had a pretty beautiful course. It wasn't
the Four Seasons.
It wasn't nearly as good. What's it called? Trinity Forest or whatever the hell.
It was terrible.
I thought the course was gorgeous in terms of what they were trying to do.
Trinity?
But it was not good for spectator sport.
No, it wasn't.
I would love to go play there. I'd love to hang out. It's like almost linksy, and what that means, go look it up. It's like the style of like coastal British courses, blah, 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 windy. But so it was just not a good situation for a PGA Tour event, though. You were having to you had all these people parking their cars in South Dallas in areas that look awful. That look literally awful. And then you couldn't even walk there like you used to be able to at the Four Seasons and all this shit. You had the charter bus. I mean, that's a whole bitch and a half. There are no trees out there on the course, and so they have to throw all these new, Katy Trail Ice House has a place that's pretty cool, and then they have all these Grey Goose lounges, blah, blah, blah. But the fact of the matter is, that happens with a lot of projects where they were promised to, AT&T helped, and it was part of their, like, South Dallas revitalization initiative that's bigger than AT&T, obviously. It's the city of Dallas, but it fell through. Yeah. And so you think, we tried, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I mean, what the fuck ever. The Byron Nelson, within a few years, is going out to Frisco, which is great. It's going to be fun as hell. PGA Tour of America headquarters is coming to Frisco as well. Mm-hmm. They were going to have opens in the latter 2020s and early forever. I mean, it's going to be an amazing facility. And the reason probably is that there's a lot more money in that area, and it's nicer and it's more bougie, and that's how it goes. So you talk about fixing things at the source. yeah, there's not as much of a return on investment when you're in Dallas. That's probably just how fucking finances work. But how do you fix it? Nobody wants to talk about, like, at the source, how do you fix things? So, education. People always talk about education, and we still fuck people on their education. Yeah. And a lot more. Community investments, building businesses, and, it's on the up and up, but I think people really need to take it upon themselves if they care, and especially people within the community that find success. You need to go back, and you need to help your community.
So another thing I want to hit on real quick, because before I get out of here, is...
we went 20 minutes over.
I know, so we're really bad at going overtime.
We just gotta talk.
One more thing I gotta talk about for Black Lives Matter, just because it's something that gets talked about. Trump's actually trying to fix it. He's doing something right, and everyone's just ignoring it, is the fact that for almost 2 full generations, African Americans, even those that didn't commit major crimes, were put in jail at a higher rate than any other race. After we got rid of slavery and jail, they can make you do manual labor for free. So it's basically slavery. If they put you in for a petty crime like marijuana or something small, you're basically going in to work and do what the government tells you to do, which is thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people that are doing this. And that took away generations of sons and daughters that grew up with no father figure in communities where it needed to be had. And because of that, these mothers that worked dead-end jobs 2 to 3 at a time to provide for their families. My best friend's mom had 4 kids. She worked 3 jobs to provide for their family, and they were always moving houses. And it was the hardest thing to see, knowing that that's what my best friend had and I didn't have, or that I knowing what I had and he didn't have that, and there was nothing I could do to help him. And we let that happen. And now Trump is actually doing the right thing and commuting a lot of these sentences, and you're not even talking about it on the news. We're acting like this man does everything wrong. I'm not saying he does everything right. I'm not saying he does everything wrong. But Trump is trying to help these men get out of prison to be with their families, to provide for their families. When you have these women that can't get real paying jobs because they couldn't afford an education because their dad was also in prison for a petty crime or something dumb or miscrimed, as you see so many times with athletes, especially, a woman cries rape and a white guy did it, but they blame the black guy that was walking down the street. Random example, but it happened at Stanford.
Yeah.
So what I'm getting at is what I talked about before. Educational racism, institutional racism, not with police, but with realtors, with banking institutions. When people talk about why there's still like neighborhoods that are segregated, you think the black people didn't try to move into the white neighborhood, or the white people didn't try to move into the black neighborhood? The realtor suggests these houses. In my entire neighborhood, there's one African American family. One. In an entire neighborhood, probably 300 houses. There's one family, and they live probably 3 doors down from us. That's disgusting.
Well, dude, I mean,
it's disgusting.
We're gonna, you know what? We're gonna tee off on this conversation, I think, next week, and that gentrification point is a huge conversation in Dallas alone. Dallas to the suburbs.
Yeah.
So it runs fucking deep, and it run. Maybe it's not intentional. I always say it's probably not intentional. A lot of it for people at this point, we're just going about our lives, and I wouldn't call it selfish. People look out for number one. You take care of your business, your job, your life, your family. But the reason I went and wrote at the Dallas Examiner is because it couldn't have gone. I saw this job posting, and then the first.
Thank you for liking that.
The first article I found was this dude talking about how, we live in the suburbs and it's not in our backyard, but at some point you take things upon you and you go help.
Yeah.
That's the whole point. And so I think it's great that you hit on the parenthood point, because the fact of the matter is, whether it's by choice or a lot of it by wrongful imprisonment, the single mother rate in the African American community is sad.
It is.
It's really
it's
fucked
genuinely
up.
sad. And people
have both parents and have trouble.
My biggest issue with my friends that are conservative and like hard conservative, because those that know me know I'm very middle ground. I can hear both sides. I see it on Facebook all the time. I messaged Matt earlier when he was in Maine this week about how it's pissing me off how they're posting things like this. Is, well, maybe if the African American man would stop cheating on his wife and just leaving the family. They act like that's how it is for everyone, and that is just so racist. When I see those posts on when I see those posts on Facebook, it's disgusting. How can you sit there and say that? Like,
I just hate when
it's
people.
Disgusting.
Something we've fallen into as a whole country is that we really want to assign some little thing we find to the majority or to the whole demographic.
Yeah.
I mean, race jokes are funny. Comedy uses them. There's a reason, and a lot of minorities find them fucking hilarious. But the fact of the matter is, you can't fucking do that, man.
No.
I played golf yesterday, or I guess it was 2 days ago, with two black guys I met. One of which is Paisley's coworker, and they were middle-aged black dudes. Never met them before. We went and played around over in Frisco at Plantation. And dude, I mean, like, you think about it, they're fucking awesome. Nothing ever happened. I was gonna ask them, what do you think about the name of this golf course? I didn't know him. I didn't know him enough. But the thing about it.
What's up, man? Welcome to the stream.
The thing about it is there's something in the early, or I suppose you'd say late boomers, early millennials, where it seems like minorities aren't so driven by this racial conversation.
No,
and whether that's passive, whether that's they are just disgusted with everything they dealt with their whole life, or what I think it partially is, and it doesn't have to be one or the other, is how the media has just driven that point home.
That and
for better or for worse, I think it's for better. How could it not be for better? But when people negatively react because of their prejudices and biases, like the far left and the far right do, it's like, would you guys just calm the fuck down? I got like 20,000 favorites and like 4,000 or 5,000 retweets on this picture. It was a meme, and all it said was it was the Jersey Shore thing where like the chick is fighting that other chick, and then Vinny is in the background.
Yeah.
And it had conservatives, liberals, and then Vinny was like me semi in the middle, just watching everybody fight and not understanding. It was basically that, and it really resonated with people, and it kind of gave me a little bit of hope, I suppose. Obviously, I got shit on endlessly, and so I talked shit right back. But
yeah,
people are so polarized, and I think the media is probably the number one culprit, because going up to Maine and the Northeast, and not just there, but I mean a lot of places, makes you realize how many people are still cable watchers. The fuck are you guys doing? Get off and get a Twitter. Twitter's fucking like, maybe it's bad for your mental health to an extent, but once you figure out what you believe in and you're open to,
you only hear one side all day.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. That's my thing. On Twitter, I will follow anybody. It doesn't matter what affiliation, creed, blah blah blah.
If they
so
tweet
I can see
news,
it.
That's correct.
I think it's good to see that. I think people are scared of that because it's a slippery slope of like opening your mind, and once you open your mind to like different viewpoints and you learn things, you can never go back. Which isn't a bad thing if you're feeding yourself good information. But I mean, when you're at the extremes of the spectrum and you're feeding yourself all these like neoconservative and neoliberal viewpoints, is it really a surprise that you're going to end up being a fucking idiot? That's what America is basically. A lot of people that are scared to share their viewpoints and their opinions, and a lot of them I think are in the middle because they don't want to get wrapped up in all of this fiery losing your job, cancel culture, everything.
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty good finish point.
I think it is.
We are gonna really let's tee off next time on the whole conversation about black crime and everything that we just talked about, but really go after it. Because, people constantly are arguing, blah, 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 like, 13% of the population, 53% of crime, but it's like, how many of those are petty crimes?
Yeah.
How many of those are, pot smoking, whatever, that they were abysmally arrested at a higher rate for.
Yeah.
For what it's worth, I mean, I could be totally wrong here, but I imagine it was generally white people that pushed to get, like, the weed limits for how much you could have heightened, like, 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Can't imagine it was, and maybe it was some of the black and minority community saying, hey, we have so many members of our community that are in jail for like petty amounts of drugs that we need to work to get this changed. And whichever way it is, I don't fucking care, but it was a good thing probably because residually, and like you said, Trump is doing probably the most for the prison system and like black like community in terms of unlawful arrests and that I mean, pay attention, folks, because the media is wrong on a lot of shit. Trump can be an asshole. Trump doesn't really care about what he says, but if you're not willing to accept the fact that he trolls, you're never going to get the bigger picture. But the unemployment things, all this stuff, these rates, you can go and find this and how he's done a lot to help the black community, the Mexican community, like Latin American community, Asian community. You can bitch about it all you fucking want, but he's not a racist in my opinion. You know, he used to date black chicks, so I don't really know what the media is running on. Granted, he says the stupid shit about like Mexicans, like they're murderers, whatever. They're coming over the wall. It's like, okay, dude.
I saw a tweet the other day that was probably the greatest tweet I've seen in years. Was all the major celebrities like Snoop Dogg, Alyssa Milano, they all have pictures with Trump before he was elected president. Snoop Dogg is literally like this on President Trump, like pointing at him, and it's so like, stupid. How are you going to sit there and say you think he's racist when you're hanging on him, pointing at him like, hey, I'm with Donald Trump?
We should go after them. We should go after them and tell them to apologize for the pictures with Trump. Because you know they'd apologize for it. You know what? I'm going to see how viral I can go. I'm going to demand apologies from every one of those liberal like celebrities who has a picture with Trump. And be like, are you going to disavow this picture? Are you going to apologize?
I demand it.
We get some clicks.
All right, so before we head out, I'm going to the lake. I got to stay tan out here. I'm getting pretty dark right now, but we got to get even darker. But so I'm going to give a shout out real quick to Excellent Soviet Union. We're going to talk Toto, Omar, Not Dan, Aloy, Dassen. Appreciate you guys all right now watching. Shout out Dan, Not Dan 07, you liking some of the stream moments. So now we got some free clips. He clipped it for us while we were talking. So,
thank you, dude. Hopefully, I want to go clip.
That's awesome.
Thank you, dude. We want somebody that'll permanently do that for us. So if anybody knows anybody that has time to link up with us on Saturday mornings,
Dan, that could be you.
I would fucking love you for it. I really want to get a clip of that entire little segment we made about. I'm gonna clip probably those 2 minutes I just talked about BLM and like what actual institutional racism is and how people don't see that. I had to go and write at a city paper to understand this because I was from the suburbs, and if you don't immerse yourself in it, you're not gonna know shit. Awesome, man. Thank you for doing that. We appreciate the clips. Yeah, I'm done. That's all I got for now.
We went typical Alec and Matt diving into politics on the Diving Into Podcast Network overtime because we like to always talk about things that matter and things that we should talk about more
33
often.
Minutes over.
Just a casual 33 minutes over. Sarah, if you're watching, I'm about to leave right now. But thank you guys for watching. We appreciate it. Please like, follow, and share our content. Go to our YouTube, Diving Into Politics. Go into Twitch, Diving Into Podcasts. You're already on Omelet right now. I see you guys in the chat, so thank you for following me. And go to our Facebook, Diving Into Politics on Facebook. So yeah, we appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching. Keep on surviving through these times of COVID, and hope to see you next week.
Thanks, folks.